Hidden away in the archives of Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library lies a book that has defied understanding for over 600 years. Its pages are filled with an unknown language that no one has ever been able to decipher. Its strange illustrations depict plants that don't exist, astrological charts with no known references, and human figures engaged in bizarre, ritualistic activities. Despite the efforts of historians, cryptographers, and even artificial intelligence, no one has been able to unlock its secrets. In 1912, a rare book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich made a discovery that would perplex scholars for over a century. While searching through the archives of the Collegio Romano, a Jesuit institution in Italy, he came across a peculiar manuscript that instantly stood out. The book's pages were filled with flowing script written in an unknown language, accompanied by elaborate illustrations of plants that did not resemble any known species. Strange diagrams, astronomical charts, and depictions of nude human figures engaged in mysterious rituals covered the parchment. Despite his extensive knowledge of rare and ancient texts, Voynich could not decipher a single word. Recognizing its potential importance, Voynich purchased the book and took it back to London. He believed he had stumbled upon something extraordinary, possibly an ancient work of scientific or alchemical knowledge encoded in a secret language. The manuscript's uniqueness was undeniable, but its origins were an enigma. It bore no title, no author's name, and no recognizable markings that could reveal its history. The only clue to its past was a letter tucked inside, dated 1666, written by Johannes Marcus Marci, a respected scholar and rector of Charles University in Prague. Marci's letter, addressed to Athanasius Kircher, a Jesuit polymath famous for attempting to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs, stated that the manuscript had been sent to him because no one could understand it. He hoped Kircher would be able to unlock its secrets. More intriguingly, the letter claimed that the manuscript had once belonged to Emperor Rudolph II of the Holy Roman Empire, who allegedly purchased it for 600 gold ducats, an enormous sum at the time. If this claim were true, the book had already been a mystery for at least 250 years before Voynich laid hands on it. As Voynich examined the manuscript, he realized that while the parchment itself could be dated using modern methods, the ink and meaning of the text were far more difficult to determine. The book consisted of approximately 240 pages, written in a tight, flowing script that appeared structured like a real language, yet remained indecipherable. The handwriting was consistent throughout, suggesting that a single author, or at least a highly disciplined team, had created it. Unlike most medieval manuscripts, there were no corrections, erasures, or marginal notes from later readers, which made it even more perplexing. Some of the manuscript's pages contained intricate illustrations of plants that could not be identified, as if they had been copied from a world unfamiliar to botanists. Others featured circular diagrams that appeared to be astronomical in nature, yet did not match any known star charts. Among the most unsettling images were groups of nude women bathing in interconnected pools of liquid, linked by strange pipes and tubes. The presence of zodiac symbols suggested an astrological connection, while the flowing script hinted at a potential link to herbal medicine, alchemy, or mystical knowledge. Determined to crack the code, Voynich spent years consulting scholars, cryptographers, and linguists. He was convinced the book contained hidden knowledge, perhaps a lost scientific treatise or an advanced cipher concealing its true meaning. Yet no one could make sense of it. The symbols did not match any known alphabet, and repeated attempts to translate it produced nothing but frustration. After Voynich's death in 1930, the manuscript passed through various hands before being donated to Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library, where it remains today. Despite decades of study, the Voynich manuscript remains unreadable. Efforts to understand its meaning have ranged from historical research to cutting-edge artificial intelligence, yet no definitive answers have been found. Whether it is an encrypted text, a lost language, or an elaborate hoax, the Voynich manuscript remains one of history's greatest unsolved literary puzzles. However, beyond its cryptic words, there is another aspect of the book that deepens its mystery: the sheer impossibility of deciphering its script. Since its discovery, the Voynich manuscript has defied all attempts at translation. Despite centuries of linguistic study and cryptographic analysis, no one has been able to determine what language it is written in, or even if it is a language at all. The book has resisted the efforts of some of the world's greatest codebreakers, including those who cracked the Enigma machine during World War II, as well as modern artificial intelligence trained to detect linguistic patterns. Its indecipherability has led scholars to question whether it is an elaborate cipher, a lost script, or a work of pure deception. The first major attempts to crack the Voynich Manuscript's code began in the early 20th century. Wilfrid Voynich himself believed the book contained hidden knowledge, possibly a lost medical or alchemical treatise, and sought help from linguists and historians. Yet every expert who examined the text found themselves at a loss. The script, which came to be known as Voynichese, did not match any known alphabet or writing system. It had a flowing, cursive-like structure, written from left to right, but lacked recognizable punctuation or formatting. Unlike medieval manuscripts, which often contained marginal notes or corrections from later scribes, the Voynich manuscript appeared to be written in a single, uninterrupted hand, with no signs of revision. As scholars struggled to identify patterns in the text, they began to suspect that it was either a complex cipher or an unknown language. Some noted that the manuscript structure resembled real languages, with words appearing in predictable sequences and certain symbols occurring more frequently than others. However, when researchers attempted to apply decryption methods, they found that no existing code-breaking techniques could unlock its meaning. Unlike traditional ciphers, which often follow clear substitution or transposition rules, the Voynich script showed no clear system of encryption. During World War II, a team of cryptographers at the British and American intelligence agencies, including the same experts who cracked Nazi Germany's Enigma code, attempted to decipher the manuscript. These were some of the greatest minds in the field of cryptography, yet they found themselves completely stumped. If the Voynich manuscript was a coded document, it was using a system far more advanced than anything seen in medieval or Renaissance Europe. The manuscript was so frustrating that after several failed attempts, the intelligence agencies abandoned their efforts, concluding that it did not contain any standard form of encryption. In the decades that followed, linguists and computer scientists continued to search for a breakthrough. Some theorized that the manuscript was written in an unknown or extinct language. Others suggested that it was an artificial language, possibly a constructed script meant for a secret society or an esoteric religious order. Several researchers attempted to compare the Voynich text to existing languages, searching for similarities in word structure and grammar, but no definitive matches were found. In the 21st century, artificial intelligence and machine learning were brought into the investigation. Researchers fed the manuscript's text into advanced algorithms designed to recognize linguistic patterns and detect possible translations. One study suggested that the text might have been written in an early form of Hebrew, while another claimed it had links to Romance languages like Latin or Italian. However, none of these theories produced reliable translations, and many scholars dismissed them as speculative at best. AI detected patterns in the text, but without a known reference point, it was impossible to determine if these patterns had any actual meaning. One of the biggest challenges in deciphering the Voynich manuscript is the absence of any context. Most ancient texts are translated by comparing them to known languages, using bilingual inscriptions or historical references. The Rosetta Stone, for example, helped scholars decode Egyptian hieroglyphs because it contained parallel texts in Greek and Demotic. The Voynich manuscript, however, provides no such clues. It stands alone, offering no known words, phrases, or references to other languages. As the mystery deepened, some scholars began to question whether the manuscript was ever meant to be readable. Could it be a hoax, created centuries ago to deceive a wealthy patron? The idea of an elaborate fraud gained traction, especially given the book's supposed connection to Emperor Rudolph II, who was known for his fascination with alchemy and the occult. If someone had wanted to create a book that appeared mystical and valuable, they might have invented a fake language, filling its pages with nonsense text that mimicked the appearance of a real manuscript. Yet even if the Voynich manuscript were a hoax, it would be an incredibly sophisticated one. The text structure follows certain linguistic patterns, meaning it is not just random gibberish. Some words appear more frequently in specific sections, much like specialized vocabulary in scientific or medical texts. If the book was meant to be meaningless, its creator went to great lengths to make it look otherwise. The mystery of the Voynich Manuscript remains unsolved. Despite the best efforts of scholars, cryptographers, and AI, the book refuses to reveal its secrets. If it is a code, its key has been lost to time. If it is a language, it is one with no known relatives. And if it is a deception, it is one of the most elaborate hoaxes in history. Beyond its unreadable text, however, the manuscript contains another layer of mystery, its haunting and puzzling illustrations. The drawings of strange plants, celestial diagrams, and ritualistic human figures may provide clues to its purpose. Were they meant to depict real knowledge, or were they part of an elaborate deception? For over 6 centuries, the Voynich Manuscript has remained one of the most confounding literary puzzles in history. Its unreadable text, bizarre botanical illustrations, and cryptic diagrams have fueled endless speculation. With no known author, no historical references, and no successful translations, theories regarding its origins have ranged from serious academic studies to outlandish speculation. Some believe it is a scientific or alchemical text, written in a lost or constructed language, while others argue it is nothing more than an elaborate hoax designed to deceive. But could it be something even stranger, an encrypted document meant to hide secret knowledge? The manuscript, dating to the early 15th century, places it in a historical period rich with intellectual curiosity, secret societies, and forbidden knowledge. It was an era when scholars, alchemists, and occultists often concealed their work, either to protect their discoveries or to escape persecution from religious authorities. The manuscript's contents, particularly its unknown writing system, suggest it could be one of the following: an undiscovered language, a coded text, or an elaborate piece of deception. One of the strongest theories is that the Voynich Manuscript is written in a real but lost language, one that no longer has any known speakers or written records. Throughout history, many languages have disappeared either through conquest, cultural assimilation, or outright extinction. Some scholars argue that the manuscript may be the last surviving trace of one such forgotten civilization. Linguistic analysis of the text suggests that it follows certain rules of natural language. Words and phrases appear in structured patterns with recurring prefixes and suffixes as if conforming to grammatical laws. Studies using statistical methods show that the text has internal consistency, much like real languages, rather than being randomly generated nonsense. If this is true, the manuscript may have been written in a dialect or language that was spoken in a small, isolated community, one that vanished before the language could be recorded elsewhere. However, this theory faces a significant challenge. Most lost languages leave traces, loanwords in other languages, references in historical documents, or inscriptions on artifacts. The Voynich Manuscript, by contrast, has no linguistic relatives. There are no direct links between its script and any other known form of writing. Without additional text to compare it to, the possibility of translating it remains almost impossible. Another theory suggests that the manuscript was created as a medical or alchemical text, written in a cipher to protect its knowledge from outsiders. Many of the illustrations appear to depict plants, possibly for medicinal use, while others show human figures in what could be a form of hydrotherapy or an unknown healing ritual. During the Renaissance, it was common for alchemists and scientists to encrypt their work, fearing persecution from religious authorities or rivals who might steal their discoveries. The book's circular diagrams resemble the kind of charts found in alchemical manuscripts, which often contained coded references to transformation, purification, and celestial influences. Some researchers believe that the Voynich Manuscript may be a forgotten work of alchemy, meant to conceal recipes for herbal remedies, chemical compounds, or even esoteric knowledge about the nature of life itself. However, this theory raises more questions than answers. If the book were an alchemical or medical text, why would it be written in a completely unique language? Even alchemical ciphers of the time typically contained at least some recognizable symbols or words. The fact that the manuscript does not seem to reference any known alchemical or medical terminology remains one of its greatest mysteries. The idea that the manuscript is written in a complex code has intrigued cryptographers for decades. Given the presence of structured text, some believe it was designed as a method of secret communication. perhaps for a secret society, a political faction, or even a government. Ciphers were widely used in Renaissance Europe, particularly by spies, merchants, and scholars who needed to transmit sensitive information. If the Voynich Manuscript is an encrypted document, it could be hiding anything from scientific formulas to suppressed religious teachings. Some have speculated that it might have belonged to the Rosicrucians, or an early faction of Freemasons, groups known for their secretive nature. Despite this compelling possibility, extensive cryptographic analysis has yielded no results. World War II codebreakers who successfully cracked the infamous Nazi Enigma machine were unable to make sense of the manuscript. The CIA and NSA have also studied it, hoping to identify its encryption method, but no known code-breaking techniques have revealed its meaning. If it is indeed a cipher, it may be utilizing an unknown system, one so advanced that even modern cryptographic analysis cannot decipher it. One of the most debated theories is that the Voynich Manuscript is an elaborate fraud, created not for scholarly purposes, but as a deception to sell to a wealthy patron. The claim that Emperor Rudolf II of the Holy Roman Empire once owned the book supports this idea. Rudolf was known for his obsession with alchemy, astrology, and the occult. He collected rare and mysterious books, often spending vast sums on manuscripts that promised hidden knowledge. If someone in the 15th or 16th century had wanted to trick Rudolf, or another noble, into buying a book of lost wisdom, the Voynich Manuscript would have been a perfect scam. By inventing an unknown language and filling the book with mystical-looking illustrations, a forger could have made it seem like a lost text of immeasurable value. If this was the case, the deception worked. Rudolf was rumored to have paid a fortune for the book, and if it was indeed a forgery, its creator likely got away with one of the most successful frauds in history. However, even this theory has problems. The book's linguistic structure appears too complex to be meaningless scribbles. If it was meant to be gibberish, it is remarkably well crafted, mimicking the qualities of real language without actually being readable. Though largely dismissed by scholars, some theories propose that the Voynich Manuscript is not of earthly origin at all. Some have suggested that it was written by extraterrestrials, detailing knowledge about life on Earth in an unknown script. Others believe it to be a supernatural text, possibly written in an angelic or divine language, much like the Enochian script claimed by the Elizabethan magician John Dee. While these ideas remain outside the realm of serious academic study, they highlight just how strange the manuscript truly is. The fact that no one has been able to crack its code, identify its plants, or link it to any known historical text has led some to believe that its origins must be beyond conventional explanation. After centuries of study, the Voynich Manuscript remains one of the greatest literary mysteries of all time. Whether it is a genuine work of lost knowledge, a secret code waiting to be deciphered, or a fraud that fooled the world, its contents remain an enigma. But beyond its cryptic text, another aspect of the manuscript continues to captivate researchers: the strange, otherworldly illustrations that fill its pages. Could the meaning of the manuscript be hidden in its images rather than in its text? What do the surreal plants, celestial charts, and bizarre human figures reveal about the book's true purpose? For centuries, scholars and cryptographers have attempted to decode the Voynich Manuscript using traditional linguistic and historical methods. However, as those efforts failed, modern researchers turned to cutting-edge scientific techniques to unlock its secrets. Through forensic analysis, radiocarbon dating, artificial intelligence, and computational linguistics, investigators have sought to answer key questions about the manuscript. When was it written? Where did it come from? Is it a genuine text, an encoded document, or an elaborate hoax? Despite these technological advancements, the mystery of the Voynich Manuscript has only deepened. While some aspects of its history have become clearer, the text itself remains unreadable. Each new scientific breakthrough provides more information, yet the manuscript continues to resist interpretation. One of the first major breakthroughs in the scientific investigation of the Voynich Manuscript came in 2009, when researchers at the University of Arizona conducted radiocarbon dating on 4 of the manuscript's vellum pages. The results confirmed that the parchment was produced between 1404 and 1438, placing the book squarely in the early 15th century. This discovery dispelled theories that the manuscript was a later hoax by Wilfrid Voynich himself and ruled out any possibility that it was a 19th or 20th century fabrication. While radiocarbon dating confirmed the parchment's age, it did not provide evidence for when the text was actually written. The ink used in medieval manuscripts could have been applied at any time after the parchment was created. However, careful microscopic analysis showed that the ink did not appear to have been added long after the parchment was prepared, making it likely that the manuscript was written around the same time the pages were made. The age of the manuscript also placed it in a fascinating historical period, the late medieval and early Renaissance era, a time of growing interest in alchemy, astrology, and early scientific exploration. If the Voynich manuscript was meant to serve a practical purpose, it may have been an attempt to record knowledge in a way that only certain people could understand. To determine whether the manuscript was an authentic medieval document or a hoax, scientists also analyzed the ink and pigments used in the illustrations and text. Chemical tests revealed that the ink contained iron gall, a common component of medieval inks, further supporting the idea that the book was created during the early 15th century. The pigments used in the manuscript's illustrations, including copper-based greens and iron-based reds, were also consistent with materials available in medieval Europe. This ruled out the possibility that the manuscript was a modern forgery, as synthetic pigments developed in the 19th and 20th centuries were not present in the book. These findings confirmed that the Voynich manuscript was not a recent hoax, but rather a genuine medieval artifact. However, this did not bring scholars any closer to understanding its meaning. If it was created in the 15th century, was it meant to be an encoded text, or was it intentionally designed to be unreadable? As traditional decryption methods failed, modern researchers turned to artificial intelligence and machine learning to analyze the structure of the manuscript's text. By comparing the patterns of Voynich to known languages, AI programs attempted to detect similarities that might indicate whether the text followed a real linguistic system. In 2018, a team of Canadian researchers claimed that AI identified Hebrew as the base language of the Voynich manuscript. Using pattern recognition algorithms, they proposed that some of the words in the manuscript could be linked to Hebrew phrases, particularly those used in medical and botanical contexts. However, critics pointed out that the AI-generated translations lack consistency and context, making it impossible to confirm whether the manuscript contained actual Hebrew words or if the AI was simply finding random correlations. Other AI studies suggested links to Romance languages such as Latin, Italian, or Old French, though none provided conclusive translations. Despite these efforts, artificial intelligence has not yet cracked the manuscript's code. The patterns detected by AI suggest that the text follows rules similar to real languages, but without a reference point or a known alphabet, the meaning remains elusive. Computational analysis has revealed intriguing details about the structure of the manuscript's text. Researchers have found that the words appear to be organized in a way that mimics natural human languages, following frequency patterns and repetitions common in spoken and written communication. Some words in the manuscript appear only in specific sections, much like specialized terminology used in scientific or medical texts. Additionally, the manuscript contains word clusters, which suggests an underlying grammatical structure. These findings imply that the text was not generated randomly, increasing the likelihood that it was meant to convey actual meaning. However, computational linguists have been unable to identify a language that closely matches Voynich. If it is a real language, it could be one that was invented for a secret purpose, such as an alchemical or religious text. Alternatively, it could be a language that was deliberately altered to make it unreadable to outsiders. One of the biggest challenges in decoding the Voynich manuscript is the lack of any contextual clues. Most ancient languages have been deciphered by comparing them to other known languages. The Rosetta Stone, for example, provided a key to Egyptian hieroglyphs because it contained the same text written in Greek, which scholars could already read. The Voynich manuscript provides no such reference. It does not contain borrowed words, proper names, or phrases that can be linked to any other known language. This isolation makes it nearly impossible to determine whether the manuscript's text is a real language, an unknown code, or a meaningless sequence of symbols. While modern scientific analysis has confirmed that the Voynich manuscript is an authentic medieval document, it has not brought us any closer to understanding what it says. The parchment, ink and pigments all date back to the early 15th century, meaning the book is at least 600 years old. However, the text remains completely undeciphered and AI has failed to provide a definitive translation. If the manuscript is a genuine work of forgotten knowledge, it could be one of the most significant lost texts in history. If it is an encrypted document, it is using a system far beyond anything known in medieval times. And if it is a hoax, it is one of the most elaborate and convincing forgeries ever created. The greatest remaining clue may lie in the manuscript's bizarre illustrations. The unknown plants, celestial diagrams, and ritualistic human figures could provide insight into the book's true purpose. Were they meant to convey scientific knowledge, religious teachings, or something even stranger? While the text of the Voynich Manuscript remains indecipherable, its illustrations offer a visual puzzle of their own. Unlike the writing, which follows structured patterns but has no recognizable meaning, the images provide a tangible connection to the real world, or at least they appear to. The pages of the manuscript are filled with unidentifiable plants, intricate star charts, bizarre anatomical drawings, and depictions of human figures engaging in what seem to be rituals or medical treatments. Scholars have long debated whether these images are symbolic representations of real-world knowledge, or if they were deliberately designed to mislead and confuse. If the text is encoded, could the illustrations serve as a key to unlocking its secrets? Or do they represent pure fantasy, drawn to make the book appear more valuable than it truly is? One of the most perplexing features of the Voynich Manuscript is its extensive collection of botanical illustrations. The book contains over 100 drawings of plants, many of which are depicted in great detail, showing roots, stems, leaves, and flowers. At first glance, these seem like pages from a medieval herbal guide, which were common in the 15th century and often served as medical references for treating ailments. However, despite repeated attempts to identify them, none of the plants match any known species. Some resemble real plants but with exaggerated or distorted features, while others appear entirely alien. If the manuscript was meant to be a medical text, it is strange that none of its botanical illustrations correspond to plants that were actually used in medieval medicine. Several theories attempt to explain these botanical mysteries. Some researchers believe the plants could be stylized versions of real species, altered by the artist to disguise their identity, perhaps as part of a coded medical or alchemical system. Others suggest the manuscript's author may have been documenting plants from an unknown or remote region, such as the Americas, which were still largely unexplored by Europeans in the early 15th century. A more radical theory proposes that the plants could be entirely fictional, either invented for artistic purposes or copied from a now lost source. If the manuscript was meant to deceive, the drawings may have been designed to resemble a legitimate herbal guide, while actually being pure invention. Another striking feature of the manuscript is its circular diagrams, which appear to represent celestial bodies, zodiac symbols, and cosmic cycles. These illustrations suggest that the manuscript may have contained astronomical or astrological knowledge, possibly used for medical or spiritual purposes. Some pages depict what appear to be star charts, with arrangements of dots and swirling patterns that resemble medieval depictions of the cosmos. Several of these diagrams align with traditional astrological symbols, particularly those related to the zodiac, suggesting that the manuscript may have been used for astrological readings or medical astrology, a practice in which planetary positions were believed to influence human health. However, these diagrams also contain unfamiliar symbols and configurations that do not match known medieval star charts. If they were meant to be practical guides, they do not align with any established system of astronomy from the time. Some have suggested that they might represent an entirely different cosmological model, one that does not conform to the European understanding of the universe. Others believe the celestial diagrams could be part of an alchemical or mystical tradition in which the heavens were linked to spiritual transformation. If the Voynich manuscript was created by an esoteric group or secret society, these diagrams may encode hidden teachings about the nature of the cosmos. Perhaps the strangest aspect of the manuscript is its series of illustrations featuring human figures, mostly depicted as naked women, engaged in mysterious activities. Some of these images show rows of women standing in pools of liquid, linked by an elaborate network of pipes and channels. Others appear to be performing rituals, holding strange objects or interacting with plant-like structures. These drawings have led to intense speculation about the manuscript's purpose. One theory suggests that they depict medical procedures, possibly related to reproductive health or hydrotherapy. The interconnected pools and flowing liquid could represent blood circulation, lymphatic fluid, or even early theories of bodily humours. Some scholars believe the manuscript might be an early gynecological text focusing on fertility and women's health. Another possibility is that these illustrations are symbolic representations of alchemical or mystical processes. In alchemy, transformation often involved the purification of substances through water, and the imagery of interconnected channels could represent the flow of life energy or the transmutation of matter. If the manuscript was created by an alchemist or esoteric thinker, the drawings may depict a hidden system of knowledge, one that remains inaccessible because its text is still unreadable. More fantastical interpretations have suggested that the figures might represent mythological beings, extraterrestrials, or inhabitants of a lost civilization. The surreal nature of the illustrations, combined with the fact that they do not clearly correspond to any known tradition, has fueled theories that the manuscript is either a record of something entirely unknown or a deliberate attempt to create something that appears otherworldly. The biggest question surrounding the Voynich manuscript's illustrations is whether they provide genuine clues to its meaning, or if they were included merely to enhance its mystery. If the book was meant to serve a practical purpose, whether as an herbal guide, an astrological treatise, or a medical reference, the drawings should provide insight into its subject matter. Yet, because they do not align with any known scientific or medical tradition, their role remains uncertain. If the manuscript is an encrypted document, the illustrations might serve as a key to understanding the text, with each section corresponding to a particular subject. However, without a means of decoding the writing, any interpretations of the images remain speculative. Alternatively, if the manuscript was a deliberate hoax, its illustrations may have been designed simply to make it look more mysterious and valuable. If a forger in the 15th century wanted to sell a book of lost knowledge to a wealthy patron, filling it with elaborate but meaningless drawings would have made it appear far more credible. Despite years of study, the illustrations of the Voynich manuscript remain as mysterious as its text. Whether they depict real knowledge, esoteric symbolism, or pure fantasy, they add another layer of intrigue to an already baffling document. If the manuscript is ever deciphered, its illustrations could finally be understood in their proper context, either as a detailed record of forgotten knowledge or as one of the greatest artistic deceptions of all time. But as the search for answers continues, the Voynich manuscript has taken on a life of its own, influencing popular culture, inspiring conspiracy theories, and becoming a symbol of humanity's desire to solve the unsolvable. The Voynich manuscript has fascinated scholars, cryptographers, and scientists for centuries, but its mystery has also captivated the public imagination. As an unsolved enigma, it has inspired countless conspiracy theories, fictional interpretations, and scientific debates. The mere fact that no one can read it has made it a symbol of hidden knowledge, lost civilizations, and the limits of human understanding. Unlike other historical mysteries that have eventually been solved, the Voynich manuscript remains an open case, drawing comparisons to other enduring enigmas like the Phaistos disk, the Antikythera mechanism, and the undeciphered Rongorongo script of Easter Island. Because of this, it has become more than just a book. It is now a cultural phenomenon. The manuscript's indecipherability has led to numerous theories about its true purpose and origins. Some claim it is the last surviving text of an ancient, lost civilization, detailing knowledge that was erased from history. Others suggest that it is a suppressed book of esoteric wisdom, hidden from the public by secret societies such as the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, or the Vatican. More outlandish theories propose that the manuscript is not of human origin at all. Some believe it is an extraterrestrial document left behind by beings from another world. According to this view, the reason why no one can translate the text is because it was never meant for humans to understand. Others suggest it was written in an angelic or supernatural language, much like the Enochian script claimed by 16th century mystic John Dee. One of the most enduring conspiracies is that the Voynich manuscript is deliberately being kept secret, that somewhere an institution or private collector already has the key to its translation, but refuses to release it. While there is no evidence to support this, the lack of progress in deciphering the text has fueled speculation that its contents might be too dangerous or too revolutionary to be revealed. The manuscript's aura of mystery has made it a popular reference in fiction, appearing in novels, movies, television series, and even video games. Many writers and filmmakers have used it as a plot device, a forbidden book, a source of hidden wisdom, or a puzzle that must be solved before catastrophe strikes. In literature, authors such as Umberto Eco, Dan Brown, and Neil Stephenson have drawn inspiration from the Voynich manuscript, weaving it into their stories as a mystical artifact that holds lost knowledge. The manuscript's themes of secrecy, hidden messages, and forgotten wisdom make it a perfect fit for stories about ancient mysteries and secret societies. In television and film, the manuscript has been referenced in shows such as Fringe and Warehouse 13, where it is portrayed as a book of supernatural significance. It has also appeared in video games, including titles like Assassin's Creed and The Elder Scrolls, where it serves as an object of intrigue and speculation. The manuscript's cryptic nature makes it an ideal storytelling tool, as it allows writers to insert their own interpretations and theories without contradicting historical facts. Since no one knows what the book actually says, it can be anything the storyteller wants it to be: a manual of lost science, an encoded prophecy, or even the diary of an ancient secret order. While the manuscript has captured the public's imagination, it continues to frustrate and challenge experts across multiple fields. Linguists, cryptographers, historians, and even artificial intelligence researchers remain drawn to it, viewing it as one of the greatest unsolved riddles in human history. One of the main reasons the Voynich manuscript remains a subject of scientific study is because it appears to follow real linguistic rules, despite being unreadable. If it were pure nonsense, one would expect random patterns in letter distribution. Yet studies have shown that it mirrors the structure of natural languages. This single fact has driven countless computational linguists, AI developers, and codebreakers to keep searching for an answer. If the manuscript could be deciphered, it might reveal a previously unknown language or an advanced method of encoding information that has been lost to time. For some researchers, the challenge is personal. Cracking the Voynich manuscript would be one of the greatest intellectual achievements of the modern age, placing its solver alongside figures like Jean-François Champollion, who deciphered Egyptian hieroglyphs, or Michael Ventris, who unlocked the secrets of Linear B, the ancient Greek script. Perhaps the most enduring reason why the Voynich manuscript continues to fascinate is the power of the unknown. Human beings are driven by curiosity, and nothing fuels curiosity more than an unsolved mystery. The manuscript represents the limits of our understanding, a book that exists yet remains unreadable, a puzzle that invites endless speculation yet refuses to be solved. Unlike many historical mysteries that have eventually been explained, the Voynich manuscript seems almost immune to discovery. Despite centuries of effort, it continues to defy logic, resisting even the most advanced technologies of our time. In this sense, it has become more than just a historical artifact. It is a symbol of human curiosity itself. If the manuscript contains real knowledge, unlocking its meaning could provide invaluable insight into the lost wisdom of the past. It could be an undiscovered language, an advanced medieval cipher, or a scientific text centuries ahead of its time. But if it is a hoax, then it stands as one of the most elaborate and convincing forgeries ever created, one that has fooled the world for over 600 years. The biggest obstacle to solving the mystery is the lack of any known reference points. Unlike other ancient texts that were deciphered through bilingual inscriptions or historical comparisons, the Voynich manuscript stands alone, without a Rosetta Stone to provide a direct link between its writing and an established language. Traditional methods of translation may never succeed. Yet, the search for answers continues. Advances in artificial intelligence and computational linguistics could eventually crack the code, revealing whether the text has meaning or if it was always meant to deceive. New forensic techniques might uncover hidden layers of writing, lost annotations, or invisible chemical markers that offer clues about its origins. Perhaps one day, a researcher will find the missing key, the breakthrough that finally reveals what the manuscript has been hiding for centuries. Until that moment comes, the Voynich Manuscript remains a symbol of the enduring human desire to seek knowledge, solve mysteries, and push the boundaries of what we understand.